Right, well, it's Sunday night, the 6th of March, and the markets will open in about 3 hours' time from now. This is how we ended up last week on the euro and the British pound, and we'll have a look at the Australian dollar as well. I did a video a couple of days ago, once I got the paid subscription for these charts, and I illustrated how useful this paid version of the charts is after trialing it for quite a long time, a couple of months. I decided to go for the paid version eventually, which I now have, which enables me to do various things like have my trade station linked to my charts and on the same screen. It also allows me to have more indicators on the charts and to have more charts on the screen simultaneously. So we've got two charts on the screen right now. That's a euro on the left, this one over here, euro against the US dollar, and the British pound against the US dollar. So what I want to do is quickly look at three currencies, in fact. And for that, I'm going to actually zoom in and go to a single screen. And we're going to start with the euro against the US dollar. Let's have a look at the longer term chart, which is normally the day chart. And actually, all these lines up here we can get rid of because they go back quite a long time and we're nowhere near them. So we'll just get rid of those to declutter the day chart and zoom in a bit. And you can see the euro has broken out. If you remember, we had that megaphone formation with a line coming up the top here and a line going down the bottom. And what I said was if we break out either side, it's not a reversal pattern. We've had a movement down, a long-term downtrend, all the way going back into, well, middle of last year, even before that, beginning of 2021. We've been in a downtrend in the euro, and this would indicate, this megaphone, a point of hesitation where we might break out through the top or the bottom, and indicate a continuation of direction. So we've broken out through the bottom of this megaphone. I don't have the lines on here right now. I could put them in. I don't want to waste too much time on this video. But let's just put I'm just going to quickly put them in. So I'm just going to draw them very roughly. So it was something like this. All right, so if you can see amongst all that clutter, can see the megaphone formation that I've just drawn, and you can see the euro's broken out through the bottom of that pattern, indicating a continuation of the downward trend. So let's get rid of all that nonsense and have a look at what we've got going on at the moment. So we've broken down through all this. We've had quite a long steady move down for quite a while, and we're still definitely oversold on the daily chart, on the stochastic. And there's not a lot of support beneath us. We've sort of entered a support area here, a bit of congestion going back to, well, it's almost 2 years ago. So it's a long time ago. We've entered that area that we're about in the center of this, where the price is right now. As you can see, there's a dotted line coming. I've got my cursor on the price as it is at the moment. It goes right through that area of congestion on the left, this area here. So you could say, well, we're going to bounce around it a little bit in that area. It's probable. We want to generally trade short on the euro because of all this, of all the things I've just said. If we go back to the hourly chart, we're going to be looking for opportunities to sell the euro. Now, having said all of that, we've had a strong move down. I suspect that we're going to come back down. Now, the market's open. The Asian session of the market opens for this coming week in a couple of hours, a few hours from now. And I think we'll probably go back down to this 1.089 level, somewhere around here, 1.09, call it. And then we'll probably have a retracement back up to this trend line that's heading down. Now, I don't know how quick that's going to be or how active the market's going to be during the Asian session, because there may not be a lot of action, may not be a lot of news coming out, And we could be waiting for the beginning of the European session again for more news on Russia and Ukraine and what's going on there. In a longer term perspective of the hourly chart, you can see there's another trend line here, a much longer term trend line. It's possible that we could potentially head up back towards there. I don't think so though. I think it's more likely we'll head up towards this. We'll head down to the bottom there. Look for opportunities to buy near the bottom. Again, every time we haven't had a lot of opportunity to trade with the trend, unfortunately, because we haven't had very large rallies, and we haven't had overbought stochastics, and we haven't had good resistance areas from which to trade. So going with the trend has been tricky because of this lack of retracement. So we'll be looking for perhaps another bounce off this bottom, move up towards this first trend line, and then potentially, if we do get a break through this trend line here, a move up to this 38.2 or even the 50% retracement level up there. So strategy for the euro, look for a move down, look for price action around here, which might indicate a small counter trend rally. If you don't get in on that, if you do get in with a very low risk and a tight stop loss and all that sort of thing, small position size, which I often say when taking counter trend trades, it's not worth risking a lot on these, and it's possibly not even worth risking anything at all unless you're willing to shell out a few pennies on a potential losing trade and gain a few more pennies on a winning trade. It's hardly not worth it, but if you're desperate to trade and you want to do something to look at. But more attractively, a rally up to this 38% fib or the 50% fib, or this. So, and there's this green horizontal line in the same sort of area. So that'll be the place to look for selling the euro for a move back down to where we are at the moment, more or less. Okay, so that's the euro. Not too long, so it doesn't bore everyone and make everyone fall asleep on a Sunday night. So I'm going to go now to, let's just actually go back to the single screen. We've got the euro. All right. We don't want that. We want the pound. So let's go to the pound. Let's switch automatically to the euro. All right. Let's just do it on the pound chart in its window. Bit annoying. All right. I'm still getting used to this. So let's go to the Australian dollar. And this has been an interesting one. Once again, I'm going to have a look at the day chart on the Aussie dollar and see what we've got overall. And you can see we've had a very sharp move up to the 200-day moving average. And I think I pointed out here that this 200-day moving average and the Bollinger Band on the Australian dollar is often quite a good indicator. And you'll often see the price reacting to these lines. And I'm just going a long way out. You can see all the way down there, every time we reach the lower 200 period, we bounce back up again. Even though we were in downtrend, we still got lots of counter trend trade opportunities. And then the 200 period moving average acted as support there for a while, then it's resistance again. At the moment, we're just poking through it. And I did notice, I was having a look at my charts earlier. If you put a Fibonacci in there, we're at about so we're above the 61.8% fib, as you can see, which is this green line here, but we're below the 78.6% fib, so we're halfway in between them. It's really not a good area to trade from a technical point of view. Yes, we are overbought. This is the daily chart, remember. We are overbought on the daily stochastic, but we're in between levels. So either we're going to head higher to the top of this purple line. Remember, we're in an overall downtrend. Not a very long-term one. We've had quite a lot of movement and volatility. I pointed out actually in my last video the volatility on the Australian dollar. A lot of volatility over here. We reached a high there, and then we've been in a downtrend since about this time, so for about a year or so, believe it or not. These years have gone by, these last 2 years have gone by so fast with COVID and all sorts of things going on. So Aussie dollar looking pretty strong on the day chart, even though it's overbought on the stochastic. As I said, we're in between two levels. We're probably going to reach up to the 78.6, so it's fairly bullish at the moment. Interestingly, compared to the pound and the euro, the Aussie dollar has done pretty well. Yeah, so my imagination is that it's not as affected by the Russia-Ukraine situation as is Europe and Britain, the euro and the pound. And the Aussies are quite isolated from, not entirely, but quite isolated from all the goings on there in terms of what's in terms of any threats and so on. So there you can see a jagged, very jagged, but steady upward trend. And you can see just below us, that's the 61.8% fib I had on the day chart. And I don't think I can zoom out far enough to get to the 78.6. No. Oops. Yeah, so we'll have to wait to see. Somewhere just above here is the 78.6, which I pointed out on the day chart. We're right in between, so we're about halfway, literally almost precisely halfway in between the two Fibonacci levels. I don't think it's worth hazarding a short trade on this, but you never know. Let's have a look at the price action. Yeah, we've got some reversal candles going on in there. Yeah, you could have a go at shorting this. I know we're looking at a bounce on the pound and the euro, which is what I think will happen. You could look at shorting the Australian dollar. We've got an overbought stochastic. We've got some reversal patterns. We don't have any resistance. We're really in no man's land. So this would be an incredibly risky trade. But once again, if you're going to risk just a couple of dimes, maybe you want to have a go at trading this short, or wait until it gets up to, I'm just going to remind you quickly, wait until it gets up to the top of this purple zone, the 78.6% fib, and look to sell from there. All right, so I think that's the week in a nutshell, in advance. And if anything interesting happens, I'll try and let you know in time. But that's my strategy. I'm taking a little trade, counter-trend trade on the pound. I'm waiting on the euro. The Australian dollar, I'm in two minds about, but I think it's just too risky. So I just don't think it's worth it. Yeah. So that's it. Well, have a wonderful start to the trading week. And as always, I'll try and keep you posted as to what's going on. And I'll speak to you soon.